Transmitting to you from Old Heart Radio.
Prepare to have your bones chilled and your hairs raised. It's the WacArnold's Brothers Podcast.
Welcome home.
Oh my god.
We're back.
Guess what? That was the audio equivalent of a spit take, ladies and gentlemen.
I was drinking something.
And that means that the WacArnold's Brothers have officially started another podcast. This is number 3 in the list, I believe. And it feels good to be, back stretching the wings on this audio airwave, I suppose.
It's been a long week, and I'm glad to be here.
Hell yeah. Yeah, there's just I think we were talking about the last one, but this legitimately is already become something that I look forward to, kind of at some point in the week where it's I get it to look forward to not only watching one of these movies, these horror movies, but also then just getting on here and just rehashing and laughing about it is so much fucking fun for me. So
definitely,
yeah. This week we're covering Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, which is
the Toymaker.
Yeah,
it's a mouthful. Yeah.
The Toymaker.
So really quick, it's kind of ironic. Okay, there's two ironic things, and we didn't do this by chance or whatever. This is a random thing, but okay. So, we've talked about Clint Howard before, and he's in The Dentist 2. Well, he has a very small cameo in this movie. And also, Brian Usna is a producer and one of the writers on this movie. And he directed Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, which sounds bonkers.
Okay. Do you what does it sound like off the top of your head? What's the rough plot for that one?
Dude, I would not be able to do it justice. You just have to go read about it. It sounds,
I mean,
it's one of those things where even reading it, it's there's no way that it would explain it well. It has to be seen.
Fair enough. I mean, you were talking about right before we were recording, you mentioned that the Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 features a potential twin brother as a murderer. So, yeah. You can see it start going off the rails almost right away there. But this movie was fucking nuts, dude. The ending of it, we'll get to it, but I was not expecting half of what happened in that end sequence. But
this movie's just great.
So right off the bat, it gives you, and I love the film company names for these things, the production company names. Still Silent Films is giving you.
I didn't catch that. That's great.
Silent Night, Deadly Night 5.
Hey.
So the opening scene starts kind of out with, I'd say kind of a classic horror movie sort of scenario where it's kid stumbles onto parent or parents fucking.
Right.
Just this happens just right out the gate, and then it immediately becomes you think it's, I don't know, it was just so strange. It was he stumbles on there, and then he stumbles on this gift waiting outside. I didn't know necessarily if the first sequence was necessary.
Well, I mean, a little bit, but I also like how this, just at the beginning of this stuff, it's this kid that comes downstairs and the dad comes down and is what the hell are you doing down here?
Yeah. He literally picks up his kid. He's holding him in midair, what are you doing? Shit. Not necessarily shaking, but
he's what in God's name are you doing up this hour?
Yeah, he yells at him about opening the front door alone.
Yeah. So yeah, a random present shows up and the kid goes to open it, but the dad catches him first.
Yeah.
And that's great.
So he's opening it up, and it says, the president had said to Derek, don't open till Christmas.
Right.
So the dad yells at him about opening the door and opening the present, and then he sits down and finishes opening the gift.
While Derek is watching from the stairs, yeah.
The ultimate punishment. But then it's this little circular Santa toy thing that like all of a sudden it's playing like a jingle, and then it starts playing the funeral march kind of song.
Oh yeah.
And then these like I don't know, like elastic bands kind of grow out of it and attach itself to the dad's face.
Yeah, it's great.
It starts like choking him out or something. It was wild.
I love how like it's such an accidental, he stumbles and knocks over
his head.
bonks his head and then knocks over the fire poker and impales himself through the eye. It's so brutal.
It was so gnarly, dude. I was like, oh man. Like I thought that thing was just gonna like suffocate him or something like that.
Yeah.
But then the fire poker through the face was definitely a more gruesome way to go.
I love the little detail afterwards where he's on the ground and the arms that pop out retract and go back into the toy. Yeah. So it doesn't obviously no one's going to think, oh, this toy killed him.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the perfect weapon. Well, and it gets like right before it starts activating itself, it has this like little like zap of electricity or whatever.
It does that later too. Yeah.
Yeah. He just kind of like, obviously Derek witnesses this whole thing. So then it kind of jumps to like a little bit afterwards.
2 weeks later.
2 weeks later. And the kid Derek is not talking,
he's very clearly traumatized. And the mom like makes a little line about how he hasn't spoken since then. He's not speaking.
Yeah. I love that they at least the toy somewhere gets like put away somewhere.
Yeah, up on his shelf.
But there's this like brief scene where the mom's like trying to feed him breakfast, and it shows on the television screen that he's watching the Rambo animated cartoon.
Yeah,
I was like, holy shit. That's 91 for you. It really starts showing right away.
That was like a time when literally everything got an animated fucking show.
There's the Rambo show. There's like Chuck Norris's Karate Commandos.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
All sorts of good stuff. Okay, so we have to get... So the next kind of big kind of sequence here is when they go to the toy store.
Yeah, it introduces...
the two other like pivotal characters. Well...
Technically three, yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. Technically three, but I the names of the Toymaker and the son. when they actually said it, I was so dumbfounded. What's okay? Tell me, you got to say it. What's the Toymaker's name?
Okay, so not making this shit up. They actually wrote this. His name is Joe Petto. And his son's name Pino, which if you can't figure it out, it's short for Pinocchio, essentially.
Yeah, that was like that.
Mickey Rooney's great in this movie.
So ridiculous. He is, man. He is like
the drunk old fucker, like
who has apparently like some old man strength to him. But like, so they go to Petto's toy shop, and because like the mom's like, okay, maybe I'll get Derek a toy and he'll be
let's
happy.
cheer him up. Yeah,
let's cheer him up. And the other character that gets introduced in this scene is Noah.
Right, but at this like for the longest point, his name doesn't get said until like the last 40 minutes, so he's just this really mysterious guy,
Yeah. Mysterious man. He comes in. Yeah, I basically up until like later when I was taking notes, I didn't catch his name till way later, like you said.
It's super, yeah.
So in my notes it all says like ex-army guy or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, so he like the mom and the Derek are in the toy shop. They're getting like, the Mickey Rooney's trying to like sell the kid on some toys. Pino creeps him out and then gets sent to the back.
Yeah, he's like, how about this toy? And it's this really weird fucking looking, it's called Larry the Larva.
Yeah, Larry the Larva. And so basically like it's a really good scene for those character interactions. You get introduced to them. man we know as Noah later, or Mystery Man, he enters in the shop in the funniest way though. Like he sneaks in, the kid like locks eyes with him.
Yeah.
And then like he just kind of like drifts and like goes behind the shelf for like nobody else notices him. I was so surprised by that. But he's pretty stealthy because he's just like back there picking some toys up when you see when you first see like the sinister side of Mickey Rooney's character. And that's when he starts yelling at his
Pino,
Pino, like "You're not the son I wanted" and stuff like that. And then like they stumble on him, like the other, the mystery guy, like buying a bunch of like with an armful.
Just
of
buys a stack full of toys, including the Larry the Larva toy.
Yep, because Larry the Larva gets used in a really good way.
It does. It's exceptional.
So you cut to like ex-army guy, mystery man, just he's getting kicked out of his motel or whatever he's staying at.
I wish I knew this character's name that played the landlord, because he's had small roles in a bunch of shit. He's so funny though.
Yeah, I couldn't catch his name. I had the subtitles on because sometimes I like to catch names, but it just I couldn't catch it. So I just the renter man. He basically gets like bought off for time by Larry the Larva. Like
right, he's like, oh well, yeah. He's like, hey, I don't have cash till tomorrow, but maybe your kid'll like this toy. He's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that was the funniest thing.
Like that was enough to convince him.
yeah, he's just like thinks about it for a second. Yeah. But I love that he's in a room full of toys, and so many of them look way more appealing. But he grabs Larry the Larva,
the ugliest fucking toy. Yeah,
smacks a bow on it, and he's like, "Here you go."
Like if someone handed me that, I'd be like, "Dude, no."
Yeah. I see a battleship back there. Give me that.
Right.
But
speaking of toys, later in the movie, there's a brief glimpse of the Masters of the Universe Castle Grayskull. That toy is worth so much money today.
Oh,
but anyway,
God, dude, toys. Yeah. Okay. So as his like landlord renter man is driving home,
it's such a great death scene.
He's like the Larry the Larva thing comes out of its box, and then he starts playing with it, and then like throws it in the back because he can't shut it off.
He's like, this thing, it's broken, and
it kills him in just the greatest of fashions. It like sneaks up on his shoulder, all like and then and it's just right there for a second. Then all of a sudden, boom, right into his mouth. Like it just like starts. Like,
it's pretty nasty.
It is actually pretty gnarly because I kept thinking about like, oh, what if that was like something, But,
and then it I don't know how they did the effect. So because it chokes him and kills him, and then it pops out of one of his eyes. But before it does that, it looks like his eyes like pop and they like sink into his face. It's pretty it's pretty good looking.
I thought that was cool, man. It was like they somehow like pop and then like get pulled in, and then like his eye sockets kind of decompress a little bit, and then like
it pops out.
The larva thing crawls out of one of the eye sockets. It was pretty gnarly. And then of course the car crashes and immediately blows up, so no problems there.
I was just saying, true movie fashion. I love how it happens in movies. Like it could be like the smallest thing, and the car just fucking incinerates and blows into a million pieces.
Yeah, just great. It's just we need an explosion here.
Yep.
Yeah, that was fucking. That was just so great. And so after this, it's kind of nighttime, and you're back in the toy store.
Yep.
And ex-army mystery man here, aka Noah, is like. He breaks into the toy store in like the easiest fashion.
Yeah.
It was like he like jiggled the handle and then just like walked in. I was like, they were really like making that seem like a struggle. But
yeah, there's something interesting that happens here that doesn't really have much of a point here, but it comes into play later where he finds this black and white photograph from the 70s, and it's like a picture of Pino that looks the same as he does now, and a younger pedo.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, exactly. And at first, you're just sort of like, what? And he also discovers like the creepy basement door. And he almost gets pulled down into it.
Yeah, how did like pedo comes down first and grabs his whiskey and goes upstairs, but how did he not hear all that?
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot Rooney hides his whiskey in the file drawer. The fire. That was funny because it was like there's that instance of him, and then there's another instance of him like glugging some.
It's like grimacing while he does it.
Yeah.
But sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say, so he almost gets Pino almost pulls him into the basement, and then luckily he escapes.
Yeah, luckily.
And luckily, and then you kind of get some context for his character a little bit more, right? So you find out he's also working as a mall Santa.
Santa, yep.
Oh my, he's like the worst mall Santa. Like you saw like a brief interaction with a random kid, and he was just like, this is Brandy, Santa. And he's like, hey, Brandy. Like, just in his normal voice.
I love that part, though, where it's kind of like if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it. But when the little girl's saying what she wants for Christmas, she's like, I want some clothes. And then at the end, she goes, and I want a tape of Bride of the Reanimator. Like, nice plug, Yuzna. Nice plug.
Yo, for real, though. And there was another person standing in line that had a Reanimator T-shirt on.
Yep.
But there's this great, very kind of under the radar actor. He was always in Sandler movies. He was like the other Santa Claus in this scene where like Noah is like interacting with another employee that's like playing Santa or whatever, and he like
that was Clint Howard.
Yeah. Sorry, I just kept blinking on his name. I was like, God damn it, it's gonna come up.
It's so small, but yeah.
But Clint Howard, man, like. Yeah, like every time you see him, you're just like, this guy's just such a fucking gem. Like,
what's funny is last night I also randomly, as I was falling asleep, I watched Leprechaun 2.
Oh.
And he has a cameo in that too. He's everywhere. He's everywhere.
I love that the Leprechaun movies, side note, have started being put into comedy categories on some things.
Yeah,
they are. They're like right up there with Critters. They're great like comedy horrors.
Critters. Anyway, we're getting off track.
Anyway, so you find out that he's working as a mall Santa, and Mom and Derek are there.
Yep.
And they're waiting.
Her name's Sarah, by the way.
I know. Thank you. Sarah and Derek are there.
Mm-hmm.
And so like there's this couple things happening in this whole sequence. Where like they're waiting in line. Noah's like demanded that he goes back out as Santa Claus so he can like interact with the kid, and simultaneously Pino is like breaking in to the Sarah and Derek's home.
Right. He finds a key under the
under like a brick.
Yeah.
And this like threw me off like for until like obviously the end of the movie, where they were like underneath the brick where the key was, it says Pino 76.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, good notice. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he basically just finds a key to let himself in.
Right. He's like rummaging around, looking at her bra and all this weird shit.
And so he's all there. Derek gets up in line. It's his turn to see Noah Santa. And that interaction was just so strange. It was like,
yeah, he notices him from the toy store, but
yeah,
he's still not speaking. Yeah,
they basically lock eyes. The Derek side also has some great facial expressions.
He does. Yeah.
But the weird like moment comes when Derek, like the mom, Sarah's like, okay, Derek, like I think you want to go, so she starts trying to move him, and Noah Santa grabs Derek and like starts. Like,
he's like, no. Don't go.
she's just like maniac. Like takes Derek away.
So yeah, they make a beeline to leave the mall. They go home and they find Sarah ends up finding Pino, who hops out of a closet.
Oh my god!
And runs away.
He was just like ah.
Yeah,
it was so great. But then
the one thing that I am glad about, like with some other shitty horror movies, is the story doesn't really get much work. In this movie, there's actually quite some story, because she like obviously next she goes and talks to Pedo and it's like, why'd Pino breaking into my house? And Pedo goes to explain this story that they used to live in the house.
It's pretty sad.
Yeah, they used to live in the house, but his business was failing, and he had to sell the house and move into the toy store.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he beats the living piss out of Pino.
Yeah. That's what I was just like. My note was just like, again, like old man strength, dude. Like really, just like he just out of nowhere just was like got some moves, and he kicks the crap out of Pino there, and you feel bad because you're sort of like at this point in the movie, you're just like, damn, dude, is he just like a shit, like a shitty, like he's obviously killing people with his toys, but is he, you know, like also just beating this kid on the side, you know?
Yeah, he's like, it looks like he's left for dead, you know. He pushes him down the stairs. He's like, what have I done?
Yeah. Okay, so next thing you know, it's kind of another like sort of point in the movie where it's centered at the house where another gift gets delivered to Derek. In other words, Derek, don't open till Christmas. And this time he's weirded the fuck out and he doesn't want anything to do with it really.
Right.
But his mom seemed, you know, thinking it's like a gift from her neighbor friend, I think.
Yep.
She, you know, like kind of is like, hey, if you want to open this, you can.
Like, yeah. And he's having none of it. Yeah.
He's having none of it. And so like while Sarah and Kim are kind of talking in the living room or whatever, he sneaks out right past them with this giant red box.
Yeah.
And just goes and just like sets it on top of the trash. Like
right. Like he doesn't even make an attempt to fucking shove it in there. It's just like, this'll do.
Yeah, I was like, kid, somebody's gonna find that. And lo and behold, somebody did.
The kid that finds the roller skates, the character's name, the person's name in real life is Conan Yuzna, which I'm assuming is Brian's son.
Yeah.
And his character's so great.
This whole sequence is so great.
It's awesome.
So he shows up wearing the most 90s outfit. His like windbreaker, his windbreaker's like whoosh, 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 while he's like walking up to the rollerblades. And he just immediately starts unpackaging that shit on the street.
Yeah.
And like takes off his shoes, he like pops them on. And, you know, and there's some other stuff, you know, you kind of flash him to the other house, but this is like the best part of this whole sequence.
Yeah.
And so he pops them on, and then he starts like, like some guy and like another like kind of maybe the young 20s or something like that person, girl comes up,
who ends up being the babysitter later.
Yeah. And he just like starts fucking with him. Like, he like calls him a butthead and skates off, like, which I hadn't heard I just for some reason hadn't heard butthead. Yeah.
It's so true.
Long.
I was cracking up.
I immediately was like, I'm gonna start saying that again, man. I remember calling people buttheads all the time. It was fucking great.
I like the line that the babysitter's boyfriend had, though. He's like, I eat little kids like you for breakfast. Maybe that's why my shit smells so bad.
So good. And the babysitter girl was just like, just gives him this like weird look, you know, just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. That's when the kid's like, okay, butthead.
Yeah. And so he's like doing whatever. He's skating around the block. Anyway,
mocking them. Yeah.
I love that he comes back around while they're like macking on the sidewalk or whatever, and just skates right through.
Like he deserved what happened to him. He was a little shithead.
Oh, for sure, man. And so then that's the moment. They do the gem of the whole thing. Finally, you knew something with the skates was gonna happen.
Yeah.
And then boom, rocket boosters kick in or whatever.
He's like, whoa!
He's like, Jesus. He can't control where he's going. There's
like
one
sparklers.
Sequence, it looked like Johnny Knoxville or whatever, Jackass with all the sparklers on the rollerblades. But
great reference, yeah.
There's like one shot you see of him like in like the driveway. He's like just doing circles, like whoa. It was so great. But then the rocket boosters turn sinister. They start working against him, and he like ends up going out of the driveway and getting smacked by a fucking car.
And then in the next scene, I love it. They're at the hospital, and in the most like over the top cartoon way possible, he's in a full body cast with his like leg up in there.
his arms like
so
hanging.
miserable.
Oh my god, dude. It was so ridiculous. I fucking loved it, dude. That was probably one of my favorite parts in the whole movie.
Yeah, it's so over the top in the best way.
Yeah. Okay, what's right after that?
So now it's like the next day, and Noah comes to the house, try to talk to Derek with a present too.
Oh yeah.
And Derek's kind of put off, and the babysitter pops up and is like, "You can't be here," and shuts the door on him. And
that's right.
He's like, I'm friends with Sarah. Where's she at? And she instantly spills the beans and like, "Oh, you can find her here."
You
wow.
rat. Yeah, exactly. It's like you're so concerned here, but then you just immediately tell this random person. And he does. He finds her.
Yeah, the last part of the movie goes fast.
It does, dude. It does. So. Would you say?
What?
Would you say it kicks off in the garage, in the parking garage?
Yeah. Well, because there's two things that are going on at the same time that it pops back and forth. But this is where you learn about who this Noah character is.
Yep. So simultaneously, kind of like there's babysitter and Derek at home, and then there's kind of this context being built with Noah, which is really interesting because you'll learn that Sarah and him apparently at some point had a relationship that results in Derek being Noah and her son.
Yeah, and he's the dad.
Yeah, he's the dad. And Mari called with the test results. It was official.
I love it. This scene is so funny because he comes out of the shadows and she runs. Yeah. And then he goes and chases her, and then she just instantly starts making out with him.
Yeah, exactly. I was just like, oh my gosh. And so, then it quickly seems like it leads right to parking garage bone session.
Right. And another simultaneous thing is, as they're getting it on, the babysitter and her boyfriend are also getting it on in Derek's bed in his room.
In Derek's bed. It's it was again one of those kind of horror movie staple sort of things, like True. Babysitter, hooking up.
Yep.
But it was just so funny how it was happening. They were kind of flashing back to one passionate scene, the other passionate. Well, passionate with heavy quotations, but
kind of unnecessary. But it is what it is.
No, it was just it was just kind of funny because it was just exactly. It was just something happening. But the important thing is that the Santa Man comes in. So Mickey Rooney
sneaks in,
drops on by with a sack full of toys, and he just dumps them right in the doorway of the room that they're boning in at the house with the babysitter. Yeah.
So as over the top as the roller skate scene, this even goes further, and it's so epic.
This was so good. So it starts with the toys kind of casually moving, and then all of a sudden they're kind of closer. The babysitter's like, "Were those toys there?" The dude's like, "Let's just keep fucking." And, and the next thing you know, there's a fake hand toy. And it
starts choking him. Yeah.
No. Before that, it basically it starts getting towards the dude's butt, and then then it cuts to his face, and he's like, "Oh, you've never touched me there before." I was like, this dude's getting fingered right now. And then the hand crawls up, tries to get at the girl, and then just gives up. It was like, okay, it's been cock blocked, so it just starts choking the dude.
Yeah. And then the snake wraps her arms around his back, so they're entwined for a minute.
Yeah. And then there's a car that has some blades pop out of the side.
Oh yeah, it's so cool.
When the dude tries to get off the bed, it zooms up and cuts his foot or whatever.
Cuts his Achilles tendon. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's some army soldiers that have they're shooting off things
the tank. Yeah, the part where they're shooting her looks so brutal, where it has the close up of the tank shooting her in the chest.
Yeah. It was actually pretty. This whole sequence was so fucking dope. Actually,
I don't know how they made it, but it was great. And he gets killed by the radio control car with the spike and the two blades.
It was so funny though, because the car, he finally gets the hand off of his neck, and then the car kind of pops up, has the blades on the side, then like it props itself up, shoots a blade out of the front, and then has a bunch of nails on the bottom, and it just like all of a sudden leaps up onto his chest, and it's like, God! It's like it was so dope. I was not expecting that level.
It was cool.
Yeah. So,
and there's the shot of the there's like a superhero toy flying around with a cherry bomb on it or whatever. But more importantly, while this is going on, Derek gets stuffed into a fucking the sack.
Yeah, the Santa sack. And Rooney just drags him away. So at this point, you get everybody sort of heading towards the toy store. Clearly, right?
Well, you're right. But right before that, we get a little more backstory where Noah explains to Sarah, like, he's been doing all this investigating. And in the past, Joe Petto's wife at the time was pregnant, died in a car crash. So he started booby trapping all these toys and gets caught. And it's a lot.
It's one of those moments like you're like, oh man, I kind of feel bad for him. Then you're like, wait. Then he started booby trapping toys and killing children.
He explains, just like he felt that since he couldn't have a family, that no one else deserved one either.
Oh my God, dude.
So everyone.
So that's the connection. That kind of also built, like, you know, at this point you're like, that's when I realized, like, oh, Pinot 76, like
there's something going on
like,
here.
That's obviously got to be the house, like all this stuff. They explained that earlier, so never mind. But anyway, either way. So there's like everybody's kind of converging at the toy store. Yeah, like, everything's about to go down, and
I don't even know how we're going to explain this, because it's one of those movies that you have to see it for the ending. Like, no amount of explanation is going to do it justice. It is so fucking ridiculous.
So of course, like, there's, you know, some toys and shit like going off. Noah, you know, you're thinking, obviously Noah's to the rescue. He's gonna like stomp something. He gets kind of decommissioned pretty fast because he runs into Rooney, and Rooney squirts him in the eyes with some like
viscous fluid.
Yeah,
as WWE would put it. Yeah, that's the viscous fluid. Yeah, it's like a squirt gun full of acid, and he gets sprayed in the face and incapacitated.
And he falls, and a bunch of boxes fall on him, so he's out. And so it's like, oh my God. Okay, so Sarah is at this point, I want to jump, like, they're just in the basement basically, I think. And Sarah is like seeing all these wires and all these gadgets and stuff.
Yeah, it's like a laboratory.
Yeah, and then this she's confronted by Rooney, right? Like she
finds his dead. She finds Joe Petto's.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
She finds Joe Petto's dead body, and then the reveal happens.
Yeah. So she finds the dead body, and then like Santa Rooney is there. And this was like the moment for me, dude. Like, I was not expecting this.
No, not at all.
Takes off his mask, and like you just see these like robotic parts to it, and all of a sudden it shows his head, and it's just like a full robot setup, dude. Like,
I think they must have spent a good chunk of the budget on that, because it looks so great when he takes to the face off and everything.
It was cool. Like, I was cool. Not expecting it, and I was just like, oh my gosh, dude. Like, and so you find out that basically that Mickey Rooney's character, Joe Petto, had built an actual like Pinocchio, basically. Yeah. Like,
his son had died, and he didn't have a kid of his own, so he built a fucking Pinocchio, a robot toy.
Yeah.
Who, at some point near the end of the movie, killed Petto, and he explains that he's the one that sent the toys to Derek's house because he wanted to kill Derek so Sarah could be his mom. It's like super creepy.
It's so creepy, dude. And then there's this whole sequence where like he like reveals the rest of his body. And I wrote here, my notes like say Rooney is killed by Pino, the genitalless robot.
he's like he could do everything right. Well, almost everything.
Yeah, and then he starts like dry humping Sarah with his like weird GI Joe pelvis.
Mommy,
it was so strange, dude. But then, like, you know, she jams like a screwdriver in the top of his dome or whatever. And,
it's cool.
He's like cool.
Malfunctioning. He's like
yeah, and you know, Noah gets back involved at some point with like I think like a hatchet or something.
Cuts his arm, one of the arms off.
Cuts his arm off, and also, side note, Derek. Like before all this, I guess he had tried to like get involved, and he was like, you know,
he springs out of the sack, and he's like on his back. This whole time he's a child, obviously, and they did a really good job of putting him in peril, because even though he tried to be heroic and hop out, he's screaming, "Mommy!" or whatever, you know.
Yeah. And this was like really like the main time you
finally start speaking.
And then so like. Yeah, boom. Like Sarah pulls him off, arm gets chopped, couple of, you know, little kerfuffle happens, but like then Sarah, the mom, just like one shots Pino. Like she gets the axe again and then just chops him in half in one fell blow. I was like, dude, she channeled like the strength of Paul Bunyan there.
And
it was pretty cool.
Even though like Pino, it's really weird, okay? So he's not a human, he's a robot, but he shows these emotions, and even though he's bad, you still feel bad for him because he didn't choose to be made and then abused by some fucking drunk.
Yeah.
And even at the end, when he's cut in half, he's crawling over to Peto's dead body, and he's like, "Don't leave me."
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of sad in this weird horror movie where you don't expect to have that kind of emotion, but you do. Like, they did a really good job.
No, I agree. I mean, in this way, you feel you feel bad for at some point in this movie for almost all the characters.
Yeah,
like,
it's good. It's true.
You know, you feel bad for Joe. You feel bad for the Pino, the genitalless robot. You feel bad for you feel bad for Sarah and Derek for like the tragedy that they had at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like that's I think this has kept becoming a theme that I've been noticing with the last few that we've talked about. Like, there's ways that like. Some of these writers and people that make these movies really do a good job of like plugging in kind of character or, you know, like random elements of story that maybe doesn't work out throughout the whole movie, but gives like, you know, it gives you
certain
like,
parts
enough.
shine. Yeah.
And that's what was happening with some of this movie. And then, gosh, dude, like just some of the practical like effects that they had
amazing.
In this movie, like this was a fucking fun movie to watch. Like it really was. And
it's a blast.
It had a twist that I did not expect
at all.
So like that's a huge perk for me.
Even with their names being what they were, you know, the first time I watched it, I was like, oh, that's kind of clever. Like, you know, Geppetto, Pinocchio, but I never saw that ending coming.
No.
What I figured, you know, he kidnaps the kid. I figure that there's going to be this big showdown and Mickey Rooney's just going to essentially get killed, or I didn't know what was going to happen, but yeah, that one came out of that was more of a twist than Mr. M. Night Shyamalan could deliver himself.
I agree. It's so true though, man. It's dope. This was dope. Yeah, I mean, I would say my bones are chilled pretty hard watching this one. I enjoyed the hell.
It's a great movie.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. I think before we gotta cut this off before the Zoom lords. But do you have any
bastards?
Yeah, dude. Did you see my Instagram post I made for a video? It was like a clip of the Prophets game.
Yeah. I was at work and I was like, that's hilarious.
Yeah. Oh man. Do you have any ideas? What are we watching next week? I don't know.
We'll
have to decide. We'll decide. Maybe I'll post it on the Instagram.
Yeah, I have an idea, but I don't want to say it yet.
Fair
you know what I mean? Let's leave as you put them. Let's leave the hot dogs sitting on the grill for a little bit longer.
Yeah. Let them catch a little more flavor. All right.
Yes, sir.
Well, I will say then this has been another enjoyed
Yes, sir.
episode of the WacArnold's Brothers. I definitely suggest you watch Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, the Toymaker.
You'll enjoy it.
All
right, bud.
All right. Well, I guess we'll see you another time.
Yes, sir.